Mike Renner, Pro Football Focus. Mike, what's up, man? Good morning.
What's up, Joey? Good to see you, my man.
Good to see you, too. It's been a little over a year. You were in Indy, and we were hanging at the Combine in 2020 before, everything got rocked. So it's good to see you. You have the short hair now, and now I have the long hair.
We're trading places here.
Yeah.
I just got to tell you, it's a grind once it gets long. Like the showers, that's why I quit. There's like 10, 15-minute showers just to get that shit clean. So cut it real short now.
Get it clean and getting it dry. Yeah, no, it was a pain in the ass for sure. All right, lead draft analyst for Pro Football Focus, Mike Renner. How are we feeling, man? We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. We're getting down to the final moments. What's the last bit of draft prep and stuff on your end that you got to do leading up to Thursday and this weekend?
Just try to memorize shit for the shows we're doing. Is basically what I'm doing this week. Is trying to do. Because we got live shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the whole time. And so I'm going to have a lot to talk about at that point. But it is weird. I woke up this morning and I was like, this week is literally my entire job. I do the draft. And so my whole job revolves around 1 week's worth of just like things happening, which is odd, but it's kind of awesome in a way.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with Thursday in the first round. Who are you? Everybody knows, everybody's thinking at least, that it's going to be mock Lawrence Wilson. Then we get to 3.
Yeah.
And now this is the biggest, topic that everybody's talking about leading up to Thursday. And the report came out today that it's Mac Jones or Trey Lance. Where do you land and why?
I think it's going to be Trey Lance. Now, I thought when a trade first happened, I thought it'd be Justin Fields, but I just cannot fathom giving up 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones. Fine quarterback, don't get me wrong. But it's you just look at the elite quarterbacks around the NFL, and they just have more physical talent than Mac Jones. They look like Trey Lance. They don't look like Mac Jones, the guys who are really playing MVP level year in and year out. Now there's the outliers like Drew Brees is still playing obviously at a high level with not a ton of arm talent. But if you want to really transform your offense and transform your team, it's the guys with the cannons, the guys that can make plays outside the pocket, the guys that can run. And none of that is Mac Jones, and all of that's Trey Lance. And so I think if you're going to buy into one of those guys at 3, I just think you'd be crazy to have it be Mac Jones over Trey Lance.
So do you feel like these are like smoke screens being sent out by San Fran then? Because I feel like you're one of the only people that said Trey Lance. Everywhere I look, it's Mac Jones.
That's the thing. So like the people inside San Francisco, outside of obviously Kyle Shanahan, he hasn't even told anyone. He's making the decision, I believe, himself, and it's not. So the smoke screens are just trying, people that know Shanahan, trying to pick his brain and what he would want. And that leans Mac Jones because obviously the offense he ran in Alabama, very similar conceptually what he did, the throws he was making to what Kyle Shanahan's offense has been for the 49ers. But that's also because the quarterbacks Kyle Shanahan's had have also looked like Mac Jones and that Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Ryan, even going back to Matt Schaub, guys who just aren't these most physically talented. But I think like the beauty of Shanahan is that he knows offense in and out. And like he made Robert Griffin look like a stud and completely in a different type of offense. They did a lot of different stuff there back in Washington than they ever did with Matt Ryan, obviously, because Robert Griffin could run.
Do you feel like there's a little bit of unfairness towards Mac Jones, though? Because, I mean, essentially, you put the numbers up side by side. He had the same season that Joe Burrow did, and Burrow was kind of the unquestioned number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I get why there's that. Like the statistics are off the charts, and he operated that offense higher than anyone's operated a college offense before. But it's also what we're doing is projecting forward. And you look at throw for throw and basically what he was asked to do in that offense, and it's just not a lot difficult, not a lot of difficult stuff. And now he obviously like plays with timing really well, is really good in the pocket, like fairly accurate with the football underneath intermediate range, but a lot of guys in that offense, if they were thrown at that offense, would be putting up monster numbers. You kind of have to project the difficulty of it, whereas Burrow's making these throws down the field to tight windows and hitting guys who are, I think he had 3 times as many throws into tight windows per our charting than Mac Jones did this past season, which is just, that's a different, that you feel more confident about that guy because you're going to have to hit those in the NFL. That's a big thing to do, whereas Mac Jones just hitting these crossing routes that are, wide open.
Yeah.
That really, it's like, okay, that's nice, but how many times are you going to be able to do that in the NFL?
Sure. All right, let's jump to 5. another one where it's kind of like people are like build up front, protect Joe Burrow, or get his guy from LSU and Jamar Chase. Who do you think they go with? Who would you go with?
I would go with, if it's between Sewell and Chase, I'd go with Penei Sewell. He's just, to me, the more difficult one to find. Not to say that, there's a ton of true number one wide receivers out there, but there's a reason like teams are making Trent Brown the highest paid offensive tackle in the NFL when he hits free agency, because so many teams are desperate for tackle play.
Yeah.
You draft Penei Sewell, your money. There's a reason why also like the wide receivers that hit the free agent market this year are signing for like 10 mil, 13 mil, because people see them as somewhat replaceable and not necessarily that there's a lot of talent in the market right now at the wide receiver position. You can find a guy in the second round, like we saw last year with Chase Claypool. So like you can find a guy in the third round, like we saw the year before that with Terry McLaurin. Like it happens. I don't think you find Penei Sewell's in the second or third round is the thing there. So I think it ultimately is Chase though, because I think they got to make Joe Burrow happy. Like that's his guy. They're going to have to. Not a lot of people want to be in Cincinnati. I know. I fucking live in Cincinnati. Like not a lot of like you gotta sell a guy to be here. So I think they got to appease him at some point, especially after obviously tearing his ACL last year.
Yeah, what do you got to do to get old Collinsworth to move it out of Cincinnati and head somewhere a little bit better? Huh? You got.
He screws us. So he has the company here in Cincinnati, and then every winter after the season ends, he spends like 3 months down in Florida and just lets us do our thing here in Cincinnati. And we're like, God damn it, Chris! Like, just start the company in Florida in the first place. What the hell?
Or at least take you guys with them down there.
I know, yeah. Build a studio down there. Gladly, I'd move down for 3 months a year.
It'd be like the Rams with them setting up their draft war room out there at the beach house and everything like that. You guys get down in PFF and PFF in Florida, man. I like it. PFF Spring Breakers. That's what you should. A week down there.
Warren Sharp does the spring break every year, right?
Yeah. Like that'd be good. Justin Fields, what is going to happen with this guy, man? Because all the past 2 years it's been Lawrence Fields, and then now, per usual, every draft we see shit like this. It's like, well, Justin Fields could go number 3. Justin Fields could go, to 20. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't get this one. Now, I've talked to people within the league, and some of them don't understand it either. Like, it's really just, I think one is like the wealth of talent that ended up coming up at the quarterback position this year was kind of, Zach Wilson rising up, Mac Jones rising up. 2, though, like the biggest thing to me is I just don't know how many quarterbacks who have that level of arm strength, that level of accuracy. Like, you look at his tape and he's very accurate with football, and run 4.43s that then fail in the NFL. Like that seems like you got a pretty high floor at that point. And yeah, the tape's not perfect this past year. Like you don't love what he did against Northwestern for sure. And he struggled against the blitz a lot, but those things can improve. You can't teach Mac Jones to run a 4.4. You can't teach Mac Jones to throw 65 yards. Like he does things that other guys can't. And I just think it gives you a pretty high floor with his physical tools.
Do you buy into Carolina if he's there at 8 for them to say, yeah, we just got Sam Darnold, but we're not going to pass on this guy?
I do, actually, because I think David Tepper, obviously the owner, analytically driven franchise to a degree here now, like realizing that, hey, if we don't have a quarterback, we're screwed anyway. So 8th overall pick's not going to be Kyle Pitts. It's not going to be someone that's really can change your franchise. There was really this like generational type of prospect. You're probably getting just a good player, but not a great player. At that point, take that swing on the quarterback because they don't lose value. We just saw they just traded a 2nd and a 4th for Sam Darnold, who was about the worst case scenario when you draft a guy that high. So you can flip that guy, even if Sam Darnold turns out to be great, you can flip that guy for picks next year, and it's not even a big deal.
Is this draft? I feel like this draft is compared to at least the last few or in recent memory. I feel like this draft is the most where we have these kind of discussions about guys like Justin Fields, Devontae Smith. Where do you go with Kyle Pitts? What do you do with Mac Jones? Do you feel like this draft is one of the most not controversial but debatable that we've had in the last few years?
Oh, for sure. The content coming out of this one has been the sort of fervor around it. I feel like has been so much more than years past because of the quarterbacks are obviously always an interesting debate because when there's guys at a similar tier, you're always going to kind of go back and forth on eye of the beholder, what you value more in a prospect. And then there are some legit, I feel like there's some legit rare guys in this class, like Kyle Pitts, like Penei Sewell, like even Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith to a degree, like a wide receiver winning the Heisman. There are rare dudes, but then there's a big drop off. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see in terms of like the certainty of these guys, where you got probably a dozen guys that didn't even play last year that are going to be in this draft. They're going to be drafted in the first 4 rounds. So it's like, what do you do with those guys? Maybe they were going to suck this past year. Maybe they're going to be awesome this past year, and they took a massive step forward. We just didn't see it. So it is a lot of, I guess so this probably is the most debated draft I can remember since I started doing this.
Who will be the first defensive player taken, you think?
If I had a bet, I will say J.C. Horn, South Carolina cornerback. Bet he goes to either 10 to the Cowboys or maybe 12 to the Eagles, we'll say.
Okay, so over Surtain.
I think so. I just think teams are going to see him and what he does and like super physical and fall in love with that over Surtain's very, very high floor. Like he's already can play NFL cornerback tomorrow. He's very sound, but he's just not near the physical sort of bully that J.C. Horn is.
What we got to get? I need to know. Big Steelers guy. If you didn't know, 24.
Oh, I do.
You do.
Sadly.
What are we thinking, man? Are you thinking it's going to be chalk like everyone's saying with Najee Harris? Do they surprise with ETN? What do you think?
That would just blow my mind if they went running back. And now it just would. I mean, after the whole Le'Veon Bell saga, and then James Conner being like serviceable, but like not failing to recognize that the reason all of that kind of went downhill was you went from probably a top 5 offensive line in 2015, 2016, maybe into 2017. You lose Marcus Gilbert. You lose left guard, whose name's escaping me right now. Roman Foster. You lose him. Castro's hurt. Alejandro Villanueva is getting old. Like, that's the part that's taking this massive step back, not necessarily the running back position. And to then, maybe lose Alejandro Villanueva this offseason and really have just Zach Banner and Chukwuma Okorafor as your starters right now at tackle, and then to draft a running back and say, hey, good luck. Najee Harris going from the best offensive line in college football, maybe in the past like 4 or 5 years, to what he's going to have in Pittsburgh is going to be eye-opening. So I just think with this deep offensive line class, like they'd be crazy not to take advantage of it. But I don't know. We'll see. I do believe though that will be ultimately Najee Harris. I bet they do go with it because like it fits personality-wise with that organization. But damn, I'll believe it. I won't believe it until I see it.
But and that's fair. And I understand and I agree with you on all fronts with the points made about the offensive line currently as it states in Pittsburgh. But couldn't it be said, couldn't I be right to say at 24 taking the best overall running back, and then they have 2 more picks in the top 87, top 88 in the draft for the 2nd and 3rd round, and then you come back and you get best offensive lineman available with your 2nd and 3rd round pick? Like, doesn't that mathematically like even out to where you get the best overall running back, and then you get guys that can come in and will be solid players that will play, but you don't get the 5th or 6th best offensive lineman with your 1st overall pick. You know what I'm saying?
True. I will say though, so the NFL is pretty good at scouting tackle talent, like offensive tackle at least, like guard, center, in terms of like where they draft them. Guys that go in the 1st round at tackle, they tend to be able to recognize those guys are the ones that ended up succeeding. Like you can get some good players outside of the 1st round, but it is rare to find a high level quality tackle outside of the 1st round. So if you're drafting the tackle in the 3rd round and then throwing him in as a starter year 1, vast majority of the time it's ugly. Like vast majority of the time, that's just not a guy. Like there's a reason why he falls to the 3rd round, because he's not ready to play in the NFL. Yeah. So, and I think it's been shown that you can find, like Najee Harris, fantastic running back. Like I'm not going to debate that whatsoever. If given like a good opportunity to succeed, he will. But I just worry about the opportunity to succeed there if they are really throwing out, like I said, rookie or Zach Banner, Chukwuma Okorafor, or a rookie at one of the tackle positions.
But don't you think like if they did take the offensive lineman and then you wait until the 3rd or 4th round, then they're just getting another James Conner, another guy, just kind of a guy and not going to be dynamic enough.
That is true. I mean, like, if you really want to upgrade the running back position, to me, there's 3 guys in this draft class. It's Najee Harris, Javonte Williams from North Carolina, Travis Etienne from Clemson. If you really want a guy that you feel good about being, like you said, dynamic at that position, those are the 3 I feel good about. After that, real crapshoot. But I will say, like, the reason they've fallen off is because, like, you need to prop up Ben Roethlisberger is the bigger thing with that offense right now. Like, he needs all the help he can get to get back to the Roethlisberger we saw 2016, 2017, because this is kind of like it. This is kind of like their one last hurrah with, if you just look at all their contracts and obviously Roethlisberger's situation. Like, after this, it could be bad after 2021 with just like how they are as a franchise. So whatever you got to do to make this year the best is probably what they're going to end up doing. Now, like I said, I think pass protection is the best way to make this year the best. But it's also like you said, though, relying on the 4th best tackle in the class, though, is also can be a fool's errand. Like, that guy might come in and not be ready either. So I can see both sides of the coin in that one. Okay.
Besides Najee Harris going to the Steelers, what's going to be the pick on Thursday that you're going to be like, holy shit, didn't see that one coming, whether it's a team trading up or just somebody kind of taking a flyer on a guy?
Yeah, I do wonder if someone makes like a massive play. Like, people are talking about the Cardinals trying to get up into the top 10 for like a wide receiver. And it's just like, whew, if that happens, I would be floored. I do think someone's going to fall in love with one of those top guys, though, after, like, there will be a move up for one of those weapons at the top, whether it's Waddle, Smith, Pitts, Chase, if one of them somewhat falls, because they are that good. But I do think that might be, like, usually you trade ups early on and reserve for quarterbacks, but I think this is the year someone might move up for one of the players like that.
Okay. Who's the guy, last one for you, who's the guy that you're standing on the PFF board or war table for that you're like, nope, I don't really care what you say. Maybe this guy hasn't been talked about enough, but this is my fucking guy.
I'm going to go with Elijah Moore, not Rondale. Love Rondale. He's a hell of a player, but Elijah Moore, not a lot of guys. So the reason the knocks are obvious, 5'9", 178 pounds, but I think he can win. Like, I think he can win on the outside. And that's the worry you get with small guys, is them being able to hold up there. But he's so physical, so good in contested situations, obviously a freak athlete, like tested off the charts at his pro day, and was the 2nd most productive receiver in the country this past year. Only really played from the slot, but I think he can play on the outside. And if he can, like, this guy reminds me a lot of Emmanuel Sanders, truly, like in the way he runs routes, the way he can get off line of scrimmage, and just kind of how tough he plays, despite, I mean, Emmanuel Sanders is what, like 185, 184, like really an undersized dude, but just, you never question his toughness. He almost got killed on the field against the Rams back in the day. So yeah, that's who I'd be standing on the table for.
Okay, I lied. You triggered the Rondale Moore in me. I'm a Purdue guy. Rondale Moore. What's the best fit for him? Where's he going?
Oh, best fit for him. I would love to see him on the Packers, honestly. Now, does he go in the 1st round? I don't know, but I think the Packers have a role for that in their offense.
Yeah.
What he brings to the table, just like pure speed, explosiveness, anything with the ball in his hands is just lights out. But I think he ends up slipping out of the 1st round. Teams just don't love small receivers. I don't blame them. It's the track record of guys really at that size is bad. And it's like I'd make the Nate Robinson sort of corollary. It's like Nate Robinson, an incredible dunker, freak athlete. He didn't catch a lot of alley-oops. Just because at that size, it's difficult. So that guy's not going to catch a lot of balls over the middle, jump balls, contested catches. It just gets tougher when you are at that size. So I do think he ends up going to the 2nd round. But, man, he's going to be an awesome NFL player. I don't really care where you play him at. He's going to be productive.
Love it. Mike, thanks so much for the time, man. You can follow him at PFF_Mike. He's got all the draft coverage that you need for Pro Football Focus. So, hey, man, I appreciate it. Good luck this week, and I'll be talking to you soon, all right?
Yeah, for sure, Joey. Hopefully next year's Combine. We'll see you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Talk to you.